Commission to order. Please stand and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to read over a few housekeeping items here. Please, if you got a cell phone, put it on silent. Restroom is through that door, out down the hallway to the left. The Mecklenburg County Planning Commission has developed a protocol to ensure that the Planning Commission meeting and public hearings are productive and efficient, and that proper decorum is maintained. The Planning Commission wants to emphasize that this protocol is intended to make the Planning Commission meeting and the public hearings as productive as possible. Number one, the applicant will be given 30 minutes to present their application. The applicant will be advised when they have 5 minutes, and then again at 2 minutes left. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes to address the Planning Commission. The time will be strictly enforced. Each speaker will be advised when 2 minutes has elapsed. Each speaker will be advised when three minutes has elapsed. Each speaker will be permitted to address the Planning Commission only once. The 3-minute opportunity to speak cannot be transferred from one speaker to another. Speakers should face the Planning Commission and address their comments to the Planning Commission and not others who are present at the meeting. Speakers should not turn and face and address members of the audience. The Planning Commission asks that everyone at the meeting be respectful to others who are present, and asks that those present not applaud speakers. As it is a reminder, it is inappropriate at the public meeting to make personal attacks to defamation or disparage individuals or in defile groups. Profanity will not be tolerated. Prior to beginning your comments, please state your name and address for the record. There's a sign-up sheet at the front. Just want to make sure everybody knows that. If you wish to speak, please sign up now, and then we will get started with our meeting. Before we go into public hearing, first item on our agenda tonight is a preliminary plat review from Pineland Subdivision. Mr. Hendricks, sir. We can handle it here.
Country Club Road. This is how
That's gonna be on
Yeah.
Country Road and LaCrosse Road is a total of 21 lots. They have provided the dumpster site. One of the recommendations on the entrance, because there's so many lots so close together, VDOT recommended the shared entrance to the properties. But other than that, everything right now meets the criteria for the major subdivision. They're currently going out and have the soil work done. I have talked to the developer, the lots may be larger than what we have presented from preliminary, because they do not like the shared driveways.
Yeah, I think that would be a turn down.
Huh?
I think that would be a turn down.
Yeah,
For most
well,
buyers.
that's part of the VDOT's recommendation, because there's so many lots there together, instead of having a driveway after driveway after driveway.
You say that'll probably change.
More than likely, because I talked to her, and she wasn't too happy with the shared driveways. They still have to go back and do the soil work, and they may end up with less lots than they have.
So, 159 feet.
Now, is the land behind this owned by the same?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. They're retaining that for themselves.
Okay.
So all of them are over an acre. Plenty of room.
Mm-hmm.
and all of it does front on state roads.
This one's 7 acres.
Yeah.
And you have all your paperwork and everything?
This is just preliminary. All the other
Preliminary.
stuff will come in after this, once they do the final plat, full work, and modern testing.
Any other questions? Discussion? Do I hear a motion on this preliminary plat?
Heinz Grocery.
Well, I guess we don't need to go in public hearing to do
No,
that.
there isn't, because we just need to make a motion.
Okay.
to accept.
All right, motion's been made to accept the preliminary plat. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries. We're now going to public hearing. First item on our agenda tonight is a Mecklenburg County Zoning Office had received an application from Microsoft Corporation to rezone from agriculture to industrial M1 to allow for a data center. This property is zoned agriculture, is located on the west and east side of High Street, approximately 200 feet south of its intersection with Ramey Lane. This is in Election District 2. Is there anyone here to speak for this application? Please come forward and state your name, sir.
Yes, sir. Wayne Carter.
All right.
How's everyone tonight? Last month, the Board of Supervisors in the town of Shea City moved the boundary line. These lots were all in the town of Shea City previously. They moved them back to the edge of the properties. The town had crossed over several adjoining properties. What Microsoft has got, the remaining land is zoned industrial. We're trying to keep this the same zoning, so this would be zoned industrial also. But the reason why we're having to do this is because it was unzoned land till last month and was in the town of Shea City, zoned residential. Town council approved it unanimously.
Okay. So it was just kind of an overlooked piece that
It
had.
was actually the way the original property lines were. It was part of the old Butler farm, but it ran straight across right there, and I think there was one lot. And they purchased all of that when they closed on the remaining 600 acres.
Okay.
What we rezoned last month was the bottom southern tier of it, about a third, and that was to go to agriculture for wetlands banks.
All right. Any questions? Okay, thank you. Anyone else to speak for this application? Anyone here to speak against this application? Did we receive any calls or letters?
No, sir.
No calls and letters. Is there any other discussion? Do I hear a motion on this application?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve for the following reasons. The rezoning would allow future industrial development in the area. It will not be detrimental to the public welfare. It will not affect adversely the health or safety of persons of the neighborhood for the proposed use. And the rezoning of the 8.19 acres will be combined to an existing industrial M1 property.
Okay. Motion's been made with the following stipulations. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion's been made and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask Mr. Carter a question, please?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Carter, on the previous application we just did, we are on the subdivision, we had the little lot there for the dumpster site. You know, and we specified it on the dump, that these convenience centers moving in, you know, it may be a possibility we want to, if we want to think that land can be used for something else, should we specify a little bit more in detail? What are we doing going forward?
Yeah, you probably should look at amending the ordinance, say for public use, for other utilities, et cetera. You know, we looked at everything, we did discussions with regards to broadband purposes, things of that nature. Currently, we're not looking at putting any of these dumpsters in anymore. I think there are other uses for the land for the betterment of everybody. So I think that would probably be something we should look at is amending the zoning ordinance just to have it for public utilities.
Yeah, because I think, like I said, these convenience centers come in, we specifying a certain thing that we're using it for, and then we're getting ready to get away from that. So I think that's something we maybe need to do pretty soon.
And I think that the public utilities will cover anything, whether that be.
Yeah, I think that'd be a better choice.
Power companies, et cetera, so I think that'd be a better use of it, a better work, terminology.
Yeah, I think so too. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next item on our agenda tonight is Mecklenburg County has received an application from Jonathan and Amanda Bowman for a special exception permit to allow for a second home. This property is zoned residential R2, is located on the west side of Highway 703 Sullivan Road, approximately 800 feet north of its intersection with 693 Fruit Hill. This is in election District 8. Is there anyone here to speak for this application? Please come.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Bowman, and we, as you just stated, submitted an application to build a 700 square foot cabin on my property for my in-laws to move up here with us.
Okay. You say 700 square feet?
Yeah, approximately.
And how much acreage is that?
7 acres, almost. I think it's 6.77.
Okay.
Is what the record says.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak for this application? Is there anyone else to speak against this application? Did we receive any calls or letters?
No, sir, no letters, no emails, no phone calls.
Okay. Is there any discussion on this application? Do I hear a motion on this application?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we approve this application for the following reason. The county has approved these types of application requests, requesting a second home on the same tract of land in the past. It will not be determinant of public welfare. It will not affect adversely the health and safety of persons of the neighborhood or the purpose use, for the other purpose use. The second home will be used by a family member.
Motion's been made with the following stipulation. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda tonight, Mecklenburg has received an application from Christina Sanford, I hope I didn't butcher your name, for a special exception permit to allow for a food truck. This property is zoned agriculture, is located on the south side of Highway 58, approximately 100 feet east of its intersection with Route 9468 Mayfield Drive. This is in Election District 9. Is the applicant here to speak for this application?
Good evening. My name is Christina Stampierre, and we get that all the time. And we currently live in Appomattox, Virginia, and I operate a food truck in Appomattox. We've purchased the land on 58-17-732, 58, I believe it's just over 8 acres. We plan to build our home on this land. However, because we want to relocate down here, I would like to bring my food truck. It is a food trailer, so it is not a permanent establishment. Our intention is to still travel with the food trailer and do various events. For instance, we were just in Boynton last weekend and did the Lazy Lake Days. And so we would like to park it on our property, and while parked, if we're not traveling to events, we would like the opportunity to open up and provide service to the community.
Okay. Now, how many days would you be running that, you think?
So currently, we are typically open in one spot, maybe 3 to 5 days of the week would be Monday through Friday. We usually hold weekends for events. However, we've been asked to do more and more events during the weekdays as well. So it would likely be anywhere between 3 and 5 days a week. Again, reserving weekends for events, fishing tournaments, things like that.
Okay. Do you have a certain time you would be running?
We currently are open from 11 to 7, where we're at now. Now, again, when we come down, if we are allowed to come down here, we would be willing to adjust our hours based on the need. We are aware that Microsoft facility is down the road, and so would it make more sense for us to open for breakfast and lunch versus being open for lunch and dinner? Again, it would just determine on what the needs are for the community if we're permitted.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you.
These trucks inspected by the.
Deborah Bowman?
Were they approved by the health?
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
Yes,
Yeah, they send the food, it's gotta be approved by the health department.
Is this
Yes,
for?
they have.
Against.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Deborah Bauman, and my husband and I live next door to where they have just purchased the property and where the food truck would be established. And I'm concerned about possible negative impact on the area. I'm concerned about access from off of the highway. I'm concerned about noise impact from people coming in, parking for people coming in off of the highway. Noise, if there's fans or compression, compression fans that would be running in the trailer. Our property is something like 30 yards off of theirs, so it's not a very large distance from it. And it's been very, very quiet up to this point. Also concerned about what types of things they would be selling. If this is just a food truck, do they sell alcohol? What type of clientele they get? If it's just a lunch crowd, is it a party crowd? Will they be setting up tables for people to eat there? Will people be lingering there? Will they be driving up, grabbing a hamburger and driving off? I have a lot of questions about this that could raise negative impact on that general area. So these are my concerns about this coming into the area. The noise, possible litter, and a main one is the highway. The access off of that highway there. We've had several major accidents right there on 58. A fatality this past winter.
You have 1 minute left.
And so these are concerns that my husband and I have about a business coming into this area. But I do welcome new residents into Boynton.
Thank you. Was it any?
That's it.
All signed up.
Landscape
Okay.
plan.
Um,
Does she have anything on setback buffer, a landscape plan? Is that indicated anywhere?
Christine, could you please come back up? I had a few questions.
Did you want
Yeah, I could. Yes, ma'am. On setbacks, buffers, and landscape plan, could you give us some detail? We've got a GIS map here, and it's circled. Will there be setbacks and buffers? I don't know your landscape plan.
So our plan is to try to keep as much of the integrity of the wooded property as possible. We would like to set up just off 58, about 100 yards, 100, okay. Right. We would be well past the line from the requirement from the street, but it would be on the 58 side. We were not going deep into the property. We would obviously, if permitted, work with VDOT and whoever we would need to provide the appropriate entrance and provide parking. It is a food trailer, so people would come get their food and leave. We would not have any sort of seating. We would provide trash cans and a dumpster and appropriate cleaning. We would also have electricity, water, and sewage put in, so we would not be running a generator. So as far as noise goes, the fan on the truck is an exhaust fan on the truck. So we are not having music. There is no alcohol. We serve Southern soul food. So it is things like chicken tenders, chicken wings, burgers, wraps, salads, collard greens, mac and cheese, those sorts of things. There's no alcohol, and it's strictly a to-go food.
I think that answers most of my questions. Any other discussion? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Did we receive any calls or letters?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is there any other discussion on this application?
The only other thing that triggered in my mind was it's very close to Triangle, and they also have a large lunch crowd. And I didn't know about the traffic on 58 getting in and out of both of those instances. Both of those.
Okay.
See, Mayfield Drive, that's where the school board is.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, Mayfield Drive is right where the school board, where you go into the school board office.
Yeah, on this map, where would the school board be?
Let's see where Mayfield is.
Couldn't figure it out.
Where's their crossing?
What's this right here? Is that it?
Yep, that's it.
School board.
Right there. Yeah, school board. Yep, so their office is back
Oh,
here.
it's down
Yeah,
that
yeah.
street.
Yeah, down that street on the left.
So that already's got an access to get in there.
Yeah, it has a
in,
turn lane already.
Turn lane and all, so would she have to talk to VDOT or anything to do that? That would have to happen anyhow?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
If
So
it's
that
a-
ought to take care of it.
If it's a business, it'd be a commercial insurance.
Right.
That ought to more than take care of that.
I can't answer that question. Okay.
That's all I got.
Any other discussion? Do I hear a motion on this application?
I make a motion that we approve it based on the following. The county has approved these types of businesses in the past with the approval of a special exception. It will not be detrimental to the public welfare. It will not affect adversely the health or safety of persons or the neighborhood of the proposed use.
Okay, motion's been made with the following stipulations. Is there a second?
Second.
Second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay.
All right, last item on our agenda tonight is application, request by Dominion Energy for a comprehensive plan review by the Mecklenburg County Planning Commission in pursuant with Virginia Code of its proposed 493 acre out of 1,061 acres. This will be a 98 megawatt solar energy facility to be located in Mecklenburg County. The above parcels are located south of the South Meharron River boundary lines between Lunenburg and Mecklenburg County, and north of Finneywood Creek, also along Highway 49, Fort Mitchell Road, and south of Newcomb Bridge Road. Is there anyone here to speak for this application? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm Laura Wilson, and I'm a Business Development Manager for Dominion Energy's Regulated Power Generation team. I want to thank the Planning Commission for the opportunity to speak to you again tonight. This time, I'm speaking on behalf of Dominion Energy's proposed Finneywood Solar Project. So just briefly, a quick overview of Dominion Energy. We've been in the energy business for more than a century. We have over 2.5 million customers in Virginia. We're committed to our customers, the communities where we live and work, and the environment. We have the second largest fleet among investor-owned electric utility companies, and we were the first such company to establish an internal environmental department. Here in Mecklenburg County, I'm very proud of the fact that we have demonstrated our commitment to be a good neighbor and a community member. The first time I spoke to Mr. Hendrick and Mr. Carter about this project, they told me they were going to hold me responsible for Grasshopper Solar. As you know, Dominion Energy is now the owner-operator of the facility, but we did not develop it or permit it. Nonetheless, I heard them, and I set out to address any of the outstanding issues I could that they had with the project. We have now fixed a bright light that was on the site, and at the county's request, we planted a new buffer of arborvitae trees, which was over and above what the special exception permit required. We continue to work with landowners near the project on other issues they are having. And we did this because luckily we have the financial wherewithal to make these kinds of expenditures. But mostly we did it because it was the right thing to do. Next slide. Finneywood Solar is located, as you heard, in the northwest part of the county. It is generally between Fort Mitchell Road and Highway 49, as seen on your screens. It has an estimated commercial operations date of late 2025. However, I should note that this will be dependent on PJMQ reform, which, once finalized, is very likely to delay receipt of interconnection agreements for projects such as Finneywood. Our point of interconnection is on the Clover Briarly 230 kV line, which runs through the project. You can see it faintly running up through the middle of the project. We have 26 separate options to lease and purchase the land for the project. The project's total acreage is 1,013 acres. That's adjusted from the application, and we can talk about that later. But the limited disturbance, as defined in the comp plan, is 493 acres. Note that this means that 500 acres of the total project site will be preserved in its current state. So why are we here? The Code of Virginia requires a public utility facility, including utility-scale solar energy facilities like Finneywood, to be submitted and approved by the local planning commission as being substantially in accord with the adopted comprehensive plan. It's frequently called the 2232 review, referencing the code. With regard to next slide. With regard to utility-scale solar facilities, the Mecklenburg County Comprehensive Plan includes 5 recommendations, which you see listed here, for the board to consider as part of its special exception permit application. Next slide. The first is that it should be located on brownfields or near existing industrial uses. The first part of that, and as discussed in other meetings, we know there are only 3 relatively small brownfield sites, but not within growth boundaries. The Finneywood site is located outside any growth boundaries, including as identified in the Chase City Comprehensive Plan. Number 2, it should be adjacent to or in close proximity to existing electric transmission lines. And as noted, the Clover Briarly 230 kV line runs through the project site. Number 3, avoid or minimize impacts to prime farmland or farmlands of statewide importance, as defined by the USDA and the Commonwealth of Virginia, respectively. The site is currently used for forest. There is no working farm that will be displaced. About 126 acres of the designated farmland areas have already been divided into large lot subdivisions for residential development with the homeowners association. Solar facilities are not permanent land uses and allow preservation of large-scale tracts of land for future agriculture and timbering purposes. And finally, Mecklenburg County has approximately 300,000 acres zoned for agriculture. Finneywood's total farmland acreage represents about 0.21% of that. And the 493 acre limits of disturbance take that down to 0.16% of the county's total ag land. Next slide. So number 4, it should be located outside of any identified growth boundary and not within 1 mile of any town boundary. The site is located, as we've mentioned before, outside of growth boundaries, and the project will be more than 2 miles outside of the current Chase City limits. Number 5, it should be located outside the viewshed of any scenic, cultural, or recreational resources. The project is not near a town and will not be visible from major roads. The project is going to have extensive setbacks and be screened to minimize views from any identified resource. And the majority of the project's exterior boundaries are already existing timber tracks, and we will keep those as screened throughout the life of the project. Any place where the forested buffer does not provide adequate screening, substantial adequate planted buffers will be added. Next slide. The comprehensive plan goes on to state that if the proposed location is not near a town, not visible from a major road, or if the facility will occupy only a relatively small portion of a large site, all of which we have addressed here tonight, then a larger size and scale of the proposed facility may be appropriate. But as a guide, it gives the 2 guidelines seen here. The first guideline is the area with all construction, material storage, grading, and related activities for a utility scale facility should be less than 500 acres. Finneywood Solar's limit of disturbance, as defined here, will be approximately 493 acres. And number 2, next one after that, yeah. A utility-scale solar facility should not be located within 2 miles of another approved or constructed utility-scale solar facility. Finneywood Solar is 2 miles from the closest known approved or operating solar project, the previously mentioned Grasshopper Solar, as measured from the Finneywood Solar's project's property line to Grasshopper Solar property line. Okay. So the comprehensive plan also provides 2 community goals for economic development, which you see here. The first goal is to encourage targeted economic growth, business diversification, and job creation that will result in a gainfully employed labor force within a diverse marketplace. Seen on this slide are 2 charts from the April 2022 Mangum Economics Report titled Finneywood Solar Economic and Fiscal Contribution to Mecklenburg County, which was included in the binders you received. The Mangum analysis found that during construction, Finneywood Solar will make significant economic and fiscal contributions to the county, including 197 direct, indirect, and induced jobs, approximately $8 million in associated labor income, and $25.8 million in economic output. Also, during that construction period, the county can expect an additional $1 million in state and local tax revenues. Looking at the chart on the right, that shows the annual economic impact to the county during the project's operational phase, which would include 5 jobs, $236,000 in associated labor income, and over $673,000 in economic input. Additionally, fiscal impacts from the project would include $7.5 million in cumulative county revenue over the facility's anticipated 35-year operational life from the adopted revenue share ordinance. And then there would be a siting agreement, voluntary payment or funding, which is calculated in dollars per megawatt and is negotiated with the county. The second goal for economic development is to expand educational opportunities and job skill training. Dominion Energy is a founding partner and ongoing supporter of SHINE, the Solar Hands-On Instructional Network of Excellence program, which is dedicated to equipping Virginians with the tools and knowledge they need for a competitive edge in the clean energy economy. And in addition, Dominion Energy has had initial conversations with School Superintendent Nichols on working together to support the school system's career centers. Okay. And finally, the Strategic Economic Development Plan section of the Comprehensive Plan specifically states that alternative energy is one of the targeted industries suited to the assets of the county. The comprehensive plan includes 5 goals related to natural and cultural resources, which you see listed here. Number 1, sustain and protect water quality and the environment for the benefit of all residents and visitors of Mecklenburg County. Dominion Energy prioritizes environmental best management practices to protect the environment and water quality. The facilities we construct are safe, not only for our neighbors and surrounding community, but also for wildlife and the environment. Protections include, for the Finneywood project, we've increased the setbacks off of the Meharon River and the Finneywood Creek. We have included wildlife corridors. For all our projects, we have enhanced project site perimeter controls, employing double row silt fencing with metal posts. We limit our drainage areas for stormwater basins to 25 acres per basin instead of the 100 acre per basin requirement. We prioritize ground stabilization throughout project's life. We incorporate advanced vegetation management practices. All stormwater control features and revegetation will be in place prior to upland disturbance, and we will implement all new DEQ requirements, including those regarding sheet flow to adjacent parcels. Okay. The goal number 2 is to manage effectively and conserve land and natural resources in order to enhance and sustain the rural quality of life so valued by residents of Mecklenburg County. As I mentioned earlier, over 500 acres of the project will be preserved in its current state and not available for any type of development for 35 years. Solar's passive nature is consistent with the surrounding rural low-density area. Once operational, the project will not create noise, odor, emissions, or dust. The land that supports the solar arrays can be revegetated with a range of low-lying, deep-rooted plants, grasses, and flowers that can rebuild the soil. And again, we have several wildlife corridors included in our site plan. And then the third goal you see is to provide adequate and cost-effective utility and transportation infrastructure. The project will be required to upgrade the grid, which helps stabilize and make the grid stronger for all of us. And solar fuel cost is free. It's about as cost-effective as you can get. Next slide. Goal number 4, encourage land development that enhances the county, protects environmental quality, and does not adversely strain public utilities and facilities. As far as enhancing the county, the revenues generated from Finneywood Solar will enable the county to the option of either allocating these dollars towards essential public services or reducing property tax rates, or both. Protecting environmental quality, Finneywood Solar will support a clean and sustainable energy future in Virginia and does not adversely strain public utilities and facilities. The project will not use municipal resources such as water or sewer, nor will it create the need for additional schools. Goal number 5, encourage energy and resource conservation and promote waste recycling and green building principles. Finneywood Solar will produce no emissions, requires no fuel transportation, and supports a cleaner environment. So here you see our site plan. I believe you all have a copy as well. The red line shows the project boundary, and it is now 1,013 acres. We've had a lot line adjustment on the southwest side of the project, and those documents are out for signature right now by the owners. The yellow line that you can faintly see is the fence line. You see the Meharon River up in the right-hand corner, and the Finneywood Creek flows down all the way across the southern side. The project access is in the northwestern section at off of Fort Mitchell Road. And you can see here clearly the transmission line, which is running through the through the project from left to right and up on the screen. Here's another view of the project. This shows the aerial view. And on this one, you can see the bright green lines, and those are our wildlife corridors. So there's one that runs all the way around along Finneywood Creek, along the transmission line, and then two that run north-south. So we have a total of 4 wildlife corridors. So I'm now going to turn the mic over to Minya Rekta, who's with Tetra Tech, and they're our owner's engineer on the Finneywood project, and she can provide a little more detail on the plan or answer any questions if you have it on the plan.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Minya Rekta. I'm with Tetra Tech. I'm with the owner's engineer for Dominion. So here you can see, can you go back one slide? So the site plan that we have the blue lines, which are representative of these solar panels. The red lines that go in between those blue are the access roads within the project. All the area that you see that's shaded pink is the limits of disturbance. So that's the only areas that are going to be disturbed during the duration of the project. And then you have the yellow kind of hatching on the edge of the project boundaries, or the LOD. Those represent the sediment basins and stormwater conveyances. The pink boxes that you see in the middle are the laydown areas that we will store construction equipment during the duration of construction, and the substation is located on the southern end, close to the transmission line. Go to the next slide. And the next slide, this is the yellow line is a little bit more prominent here for the safety fence, and that's going around all of the white representative lines for the solar panels. You can see that there are wetlands and the blue stream lines on this map. And you can see that all of our panels are set back far enough away from those features. There's the orange dotted line is a 100-foot vegetated buffer setback where we won't be constructing, and the purple line is the 150 parcel setback, where we'll also not be constructing in that area. And then from the unnamed tributaries, the fingers that go off of Finneywood Creek and Meharon, we have at least a 100-foot setback from those fingers of tributaries before we start constructing. So all of that all the panels are going to be encompassed in the orange safety fence. So the wildlife corridors allow for movement of animals. We won't be disrupting the wildlife in that area. They can still travel across the project as they did before. That's it.
Is that everyone? Okay. Do we have any questions for them right now?
If you go back to the map, could we go back to the map? The red line around that's the 493 acres, is that? Which?
Are you talking about the thick red line?
Yeah, what is the 493 acre project? What line is around that?
So if this is actually a little bit clearer, so the pink shading that you see behind the blue lines, I don't know if I can show it. Can I?
Yeah.
This kind of pink shading that's behind this blue, all of that is the limit of disturbance. So all of the project, including the basins, which is this yellow hatching, the blue panels, the access roads, all of that is within 493 acres. That's the limit of disturbance.
So the fence is around the 493
Yes,
acres?
correct.
And then the red line or whatever, that's the whole project?
Yes, this is the
Mean the whole 1,000
parcel, yeah. So this is the property line. So we're only developing on 493 acres of the 1,013 acres.
But within that fence, how many acres are actual panels? You got it pretty well fenced exactly where the panels are, pretty
Yes.
tight?
city is fenced in. What kind of fence do they put around it?
It's gonna be a chain link fence,
Chain
just,
link?
just like around Grasshopper.
And you're talking about your erosion control plan.
Correct.
How many acres are you planning on clearing at one time on this project?
It will go in phases, but this is still in the preliminary stages at this time.
Okay.
And we're happy to work with the county and establish conditions in the permitting phase.
Yeah, I think we definitely would like to, if that gets approved, do something with that.
On 493.
Okay. Is there anyone else here to speak for this application?
Bob?
I was just going to say also, just in addition, we will phase the grading, the project, and as the county would like us to, and we will be sure and stabilize any area of disturbance before we move to the next area.
Who is it?
Bob?
My presentation aid.
Is he for or against?
For.
Okay.
Good, hello and good evening. My name's Bob Beerworth. I'm at 2700 Fort Mitchell Road. I did 22 years in military, and I just finished up 20 years with Beach Fire Department. While I was in military Fort Pickett, I found my first 26 acres at 2700 Fort Mitchell Road. Since that time, I've acquired 120 acres because of the county, taxes. I love the county. I was fortunate and able to do that. I don't care for change, but I do like leaving things better than I found them. Again, change is here, wherever you look. PBS, mainstream news media, fossil fuels being against fossil fuels being a negative. Electric cars, Europe, the scenic Mediterranean in the mid-90s when I was in Europe, looking on the skyline, seeing windmills, wind turbines.
2 minutes.
Already? Oh, anyway, change is here. There's mistakes made with the Grasshopper plant. We know we can't change that, but let's learn from our mistakes and move on and stop kicking the can down the road. Again, 2700 Fort Mitchell Road. A week ago tomorrow morning, I walked along the road, along the Fort Mitchell Road, 1,000 feet of my property going down to the South Meharron River. I got this bag 1,000 feet from the top of my hill to the Meharron. That was on the east side of the road. I didn't get to the west side of the road yet, which I usually do. The other side of the Meharron, Lunenburg side, is picked up by the neighbor who owns that property. I'm willing to bet that if Dominion gets approved, I'll bet that you don't find this mess around there going in. And the thing is, people cap it. Out the window it goes, a big rain comes up, down the ditch, into the South Meharron, Middle Meharron, North Meharron, into our watershed. I mean, where's the Friends of the Meharron with this? This has been going on for decades. A fixable problem. I would much rather see a big solar facility every 10 miles than the possibility of 5 every 2 miles. It doesn't make any sense. Thomas Edison, mistakes were made. Benjamin Franklin, he almost electrocuted. He didn't give up. Thomas Edison, Tesla, AC/DC current. Tesla, was told false representation that his current was dangerous and would never work. That's within our household today. Change is here. Thank you. And I'm sorry, I apologize if I wrongfully ruffled anybody's feathers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Judy Brothers?
That's a first.
Who is that?
Bob?
No.
Oh, Judy Brothers, Miss Brothers?
Okay.
Hi, I'm Judy Brothers. I live at 31257 Highway 49, Chase City, Virginia, right near where this facility is and near Grasshopper and the other two that we also have in our neighborhood. But of course, this one will be smack dab in the middle of our neighborhood. And so I have a petition here that's 6 pages with probably, 92 people have signed that are against this project being in the middle of our neighborhood. Chase City has a lot of solar as it is. We're concerned about the Meharon, of course, so I'm here to also speak for the Friends of the Meharon River. I know that the new DEQ rule has come out on March the 29th, and they're now considering panels impervious where they did not before. So that's something we need to think about with the rivers, with the Meharon and the Finneywood Creek. It's not that much different from the Seven Bridges project, actually. It's just up the road a little ways. So the other issue that we're thinking about right now is the issues of the fires. The Essex plant in Essex County is on its 3rd fire, and this last fire was 50 acres of damage. And Mr. Craig Shirley, who lives there, said that if the wind had been right, it would have burnt his house to the ground. So he is talking about trying to shut down the Essex plant because of these issues. But then we also have Greensville County at the other end of the Meharon River, where there was a fire recently there. That was their 2nd fire, and of course, they've done a closed meeting on, what caused the fire, and we're hoping to hear about that in June when they come out with that. So that's an issue that we didn't really realize before. Apparently, the fires are being reported as other at the fire department instead of actual solar fires. So that was an issue we weren't aware of. And at any rate, we would like to see a moratorium on these projects in Mecklenburg, especially until we can find out, what Dominion is coming up with their report on the fire in Greensville County. So there's toxic components to these panels. I have been working with a lady in Front Royal with the Virginia Human Rights Coalition, and they're well aware of that. It was actually reported in the paper in Greensville about the toxic chemicals, that they're concerned with these fires also. So we're kind of trying to figure out what's going on with that. So anyhow, that's about all I have, and I have this petition for you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Matthew Thornton?
Commissioners. My name is Matt Thornton. I'm the Director of Development for Long Road Energy and representing the Seven Bridges Solar Project. Seven Bridges has been in development since 2017. During that time, the development team has worked in the community with the community and county staff to bring forward a project that would generate clean solar energy and have minimal impacts on the surrounding community. However, during this time, the county's requirements for utility-scale solar projects were under review, and ultimately guidance related to the size and location of a solar project became the rule. On September 30th, 2021, this commission determined in the end that the Seven Bridges project was not substantially in accord with the county's comprehensive plan, primarily because it was comprised of more than 500 acres and was within 2 miles of another solar project. Believing in the integrity of its project and its benefits to the overall, Long Road went back, revised the footprint of its proposed site, and filed a revised 2232 application on March 2nd of this year. Long Road's application was scheduled for a public hearing before the Planning Commission, before you all. But before that could occur, Long Road was advised that the county ordinance intended that the boundary lines of all parcels hosting PV panels would need to be greater than 2 miles from the boundary line of existing or approved projects. At staff's direction, we are currently undergoing a parcel subdivision process to conform our project to the county's current guidance. Once these changes are complete, the application will be brought forward for the Planning Commission's review. As the zoning administrator has advised, the county's process is for the Planning Commission to consider 2232 applications in the order in which they are received.
Pardon me, I hate to cut you off, but we're talking about a different project here. Do you have anything to say on that project?
Yeah, I was just getting to that. We're respectfully requesting that you all defer action on this project until after the action is taken on the Seven Bridges project. If Seven Bridges is ultimately approved, that approval will impact the Finneywood Creek Solar Project and the Planning Commission's consideration of that project. Currently, Finneywood may ultimately be within 2 miles of another approved project, namely Seven Bridges, so that the Planning Commission may treat all applicants equally and fairly, and so that we'll have accurate and current information to base its decision on. Seven Bridges respectfully requests deferral of Finneywood. Would also like to note the Seven Bridges project is not encumbered by the PJM queue reform, which could greatly delay and add millions of dollars in cost to other projects. Thank you for your time and continued effort.
Thank you. Robert, so do we have an application for them or not?
They applied and had to defer because they had to do some slight adjustments. They reapplied in March.
Uh-huh. But they don't, and that's still to come before us now?
As soon as they can get everything straight with their site plan, they will be resubmitting the updated site plan for y'all to review, yes.
Okay. All right. Any other people to speak?
That's all I have on my list.
Okay, all right. Questions for you, sir?
Oh, lucky me.
Citing agreement.
Yes, sir.
Could you go over that with us real quick?
You better take them as they come.
Yes, sir.
These people are going to come by the hand up.
Okay, per state law, you do have a signed agreement. This is done in our case and in most other county cases after 2232 has been approved. You have to go through 2232 review, then a signed agreement is discussed between staff and the applicant. That is a condition then of an approval of the special exception permit. Because in a signed agreement, if a signed agreement is done before 2232 review, then you don't need 2232 review per state law.
Okay.
So therefore, ourselves and I don't know of any counties across the state that do sign. I'm sure there's a couple that do signed agreements before, but most do it this way: 2232, then signed agreement. So that's the order that we do it here.
Okay.
And then that becomes part of, if approved, a special use permit.
Okay. Next question, tax revenue. Where are we at on that? I know there was a difference before.
Mm-hmm. Currently, we charge $1,400 a megawatt per annually. After 5 years, that is adjusted up 10%.
Okay.
Our ordinance is being updated now for the 10%.
Okay.
The signed agreement is on top of that. That's a separate one-time agreement in most cases for broadband, emergency services, schools, et cetera, like that. Capital needs.
Okay.
It can be everything, anything in the capital program. CIP.
Anything under that? You say anything under that?
Pretty much anything on the CIP.
Okay.
But definitely broadband, EMS, schools.
Okay.
Yes. There is increased taxes also, as she did, Laura reminded me, on the footprint of the land. There is an increase, usually somewhere in the, I would go 8 to 12, depends upon the locality and what they value it at. I'm not going to get into that. That's a commissioner's job, but there is just want to clarify that, not on my bailiwick. I have not seen it, so I'm just using numbers that I've heard batted around across the state at different meetings. but somewhere in that 8 to 12 range, there's the value of the land that's inside the fence area where the panels are, not the entire tract. The remainder of the tract is kept at the original assessment of that value.
Okay.
So farmland, basically.
Okay.
So you would have the difference between, let's say, we use just even numbers, 2,000 and 8,000.
Okay.
Half of it would be 2,000, half would be 8,000.
Okay.
Would you agree with that rough statement? Yes.
All right.
Anything else?
Mr. Raines? No? All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Laura, I have one question. You said it's gone down from 161 total to 113, is that correct?
Yes, sir. And that was because we have worked very hard. We listened. I mean, I came and spoke about your amendments, and we listened to the county, and we heard you, and we went back to the drawing board, and we worked very hard to have a project that was less than 500 acres and 2 miles from Grasshopper. And so part of that difference is because of lot line adjustments that we were able to get done in order to present a complete site plan and application to the county.
Okay. And the remainder 520 acres, give or take a little, is that going to, the original owners, are they going to retain that?
No,
What's-
sir,
what's left?
we have to lease or buy the entire parcel, okay? So, on the site plan, you'll see areas that we're not building on. That's just part of a parcel that we are leasing or buying, where there might be wetlands or we're going to, just whatever. We're not going to build on that.
Okay,
But we will still have control of that property.
okay.
Yes, sir.
You're controlling that property for 35 years.
We have 35-year leases, and then some of it we will purchase and we will own. But it's like 50-50, basically, purchased and owned.
Okay.
So that'll grow timber and whatever, and Dominion may sell that off or whatever.
I'm sorry?
The land
timber?
that 500 acres, I mean, it'd be,
The
continue
land,
to
I
grow
mean, yes,
timber.
the landowners can sell the timber if they like, but we have in our option agreement that they have to leave the buffer, as I told you. So the existing timber around the boundaries cannot be cut, and we reimburse them for the timber that they can't cut. But that's our intention, is just to leave it. So the neighbors, which I will say, this is a really great site. We are kind of tucked away from most everything. We do have some neighbors, and we've tried to be very cognizant of them. And our buffers, with our buffers, what they're going to see is no different than what they see today.
Yeah, I think the natural buffers is much better than,
We've learned lessons, right? We all
Yeah.
have. Well,
Yeah,
with
you gotta be-
Grasshopper, in fairness, it was already cleared. It was a farm that was cleared, so.
those trees I see are being planted, and they got to do a lot of growing to cover that up. I hope I live long enough to not see those things when I ride by, because they got to go a long way.
Mr. Hendrick asked for 6 to 7 foot trees, and by the time we went through all the process that we had to and get everybody to sign off and blah, 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 all that was available was 5 to 6 foot. And we decided that we'd buy the 5 to 6 foot and get them in, and we're going to water them all summer, so they should grow.
All right.
I know where you buy some fertilizer too.
Okay. You got a deal.
All right,
Anything
thank you.
else?
I think that's it. Thank you. Is there any other letters other than any calls or just that one letter?
that I got by email, that's it.
Okay. And no calls? Okay.
No, sir.
Is there any discussion, any more questions or discussion on any of that?
I got one.
Okay.
Don't we have to take these things on the way we received them? Unless I misunderstood what Mr. Carter said, we have one in front of these people.
Well, his application is not in, is that correct?
Excuse me?
The Seven Bridges,
They submitted in March, but they asked for it to be deferred because they did not meet the 2 mile setback from Grasshopper. So they have gone back and they are readjusting their site to fall within the 2 miles from Grasshopper, but they have not submitted that part yet.
So they have to resubmit it. They have to resubmit it?
Yes, they have to resubmit that.
How many
site
acres
plan.
is that one?
That one is under 500. I think it's 499 acres in fence.
But regardless, it is in motion before Finneywood.
It was, yes, sir.
So we're gonna have, to me, you'd have to take them on the way we receive them.
You can keep it on.
If they requested a deferment, I'm not sure it's an accurate case because they reapplied.
Right.
Sir. If you deferred it, then it would be an accurate case.
Right.
You have not heard. I mean, that's a legal issue. If you want to get a legal opinion, we can. Not at 8:30 at night, but.
You don't have him on speed dial?
Pretty much, yeah.
Cost too much to talk.
This is when we'd have to go back and do some drawing board. That's a question, if y'all want answered, we would have to get that legal opinion. I can't give you a legal opinion.
Well, it's up to the other council members, but in my opinion, and I'm not an attorney, but in my opinion, the other ones have already set it in motion. And so to me, it would be a legal question to be answered. If we approved or disapproved this one, well approved, when the other ones have already filed, to me, that wouldn't be the correct thing to do. But that's up to the rest of the other 8 councilmen.
If I could respectfully submit, they submitted an incomplete application. It technically, I think, didn't meet the guidelines, so they withdrew it for that reason.
Laura, question, how many, I know y'all went back to the drawing board and downside before we changed our ordinance. How large was this project getting ready to come to be if you present it as is?
Oh, we initially filed this project to be 125 megawatts. Would have been much larger, but as I said, we heard what you wanted. We heard you. We went back to the drawing board. We pulled it in. We actually, thank you, came up with a better project. It's more compact. And because of over the last 2 years, panels have become so much more efficient, we were able to get 97 megawatts. I didn't think we could ever get that much out of 500 acres, quite honestly. And so we have now reduced the size to 97, and we're very happy with this project site.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the thing I wanted to say too is, this is in my district. And, just this past month, we passed some pretty strict orders that we asked the applicants to get within those guidelines. And so now, they're bringing them to us and they seem to be within the guidelines of what we asked for. It's going to be hard to me, I think, to deny these to going forward and all. Now, my position, I prefer not to make a motion either way on this thing because as a board of supervisors member, I was elected by the people on that list and some people in this audience that live around them and really don't want it. So, that's my job, to be their voice, regardless of what it is. But with some issues being brought up tonight, and there's a little bit of question, like I say, I won't make that motion either way, but maybe we need to take a look at it a little later and make possibility. So, that's my feeling, and being in my district, that's kind of the way I feel, because I got to support, being on the board, so I got to support these people that in my district. That's my job.
Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
If we were to make a motion on this tonight, and if it were approved, how would that affect Seven Bridges coming after the fact if we went ahead with this motion?
They would have to meet the guidelines of the distance between the solar projects as it's set forth in the
Pretty much
zoning.
knock it in the head, probably.
As set forth in the zoning ordinance from when it was March?
No. Well, it'd be in the comp plan. They would still be under the ordinance of the comp plan because they submitted, but they still would have to be 2 miles from any other solar facility.
All right. Any other discussion? Do I hear a motion on this application?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion
My motion to recommend that we defer at this time to allow the planning commission more time to review the application due to the size of the facility, and to allow the planning commission more time to visit the site and area of the proposed site, and possibly get some legal advice on this 2232 that was reviewed back in March.
Motion's been made to defer.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Motion's been made to defer and seconded. If you don't mind, let's do a roll call, please. All those in favor?
Wait a minute, let me find my list.
Of the motion.
There it is. Mr. Ramey?
Yes.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Ms. Dennis?
Yes to defer.
Mr. Briere?
Yes.
Mr. Lassiter?
Yeah.
Mr. Watson? I mean, Mr. Watson?
Yes, to defer.
Mr. Crump?
Yes.
Mr. Brinkley?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Crocker?
Yes.
Motion carries to deny.
All right, motion carries to deny, defer, right?
I mean, defer.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, defer.
Don't get, let's not get them excited. All right. We will now go into closed public hearing. If you all would like to leave, you're welcome to do so. If not, we're going to continue on with our meeting. I'll give you a few minutes.
Lord help me.
That'll give you a few minutes to gather your thoughts.
Hello? Here we go.
I know. Never know. Didn't it have the trash?
I get Mr. Watson to sign this. This one should literally get to you and get you to sign that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, look.
Mr. Carter.
Damn chairs, I don't know what, I didn't know, when did we go to 14?
Are we playing musical chairs here?
One or two need to go.
Take him.
I think Wilson should have been one of them.
Mr. Carter, sir.
I told Laura, she said she had her legal thing. I said, you're out making, I didn't bring one tonight. I said, mine's home, so I got to go back and get mine.
Okay, motion to defer. I guess one of the issues is, I guess,
The question of, is Southern Bridge's application complete and therefore with the queue, or because they pulled it? Because at that point in time, they're out the door, they got to start all over again. This one's, that's a good question.
yes, that is correct.
Okay, I'll get that legal opinion.
Okay.
We'll have to have the attorneys, talk to Robert, find out the order, et cetera, and I'll get y'all a written link.
I just rather have my
Understand?
T's crossed and my I's dotted on
I
this.
think you're right on that, but
That's
I'm
not
back
what
in.
I could, answer to y'all, we're still alive, so,
Okay.
but yes, that's not what I can answer tonight, nor can I probably give you a good one without, speaking to legal counsel and getting rid of it.
Okay, all right, thank you. Yes, sir.
Approval of the minutes.
Yes, sir. You ready? All right.
Yeah.
Approval of the minutes
Yes.
for the
as
March
Secretary-
31st.
We have reviewed the minutes, made any necessary corrections. I deem that they should be approved.
Okay, motion's been made to approve the March 31st minutes.
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries. Mr. Administrator, whenever you gather all your facts.
All right, everybody should have copies of the zoning permit reports for March and the building permit.
I got it on one of them.
As you can see, from 21, 22, we stayed the same on the zoning permits.
Yeah,
Erosion and sediment control are way high.
Oh, well, here it is.
Some of those were Microsoft projects that came in, but we've done a lot of also single-family homes.
Okay. Everything looking pretty good then.
Yeah, still, I've got two more Microsoft projects. One I accepted yesterday on the E&S bond and disturbance permit locally.
Okay.
So
And that'll come before us?
I got another, well, these are the permit parts.
Just the permit part,
Yeah.
okay.
I got one more. They're doing two, I think they're recycling centers, but they call them bins, smaller.
Okay.
So those two will be coming in. We do have one application for a special exception permit for next month.
Okay, and then this.
And then,
The-
yeah, whatever the legal thing is on this will be back on the planning commission meeting
Okay.
as well.
I think either one way or the other, we need to bring it back next time.
Yes.
If we can.
Yes.
On these notebooks, Robert, what shall we do with them?
Hang on to them.
We will be.
Hang on to them, you'll need them next
Hang
month.
on, hang on to them.
All right.
Study on.
They cost the right a lot of money for postage.
And if nobody's visited the project, I recommend you do so. I've been out there, I've been all around it, I've been all over it, matter of fact. But just go out and visit it, and see what you think, between now and the next meeting. And, hopefully, Mr. Carter can get things back to us on the other issues.
Well, I'll speak to Russell, so we meet with Greg Taylor, after Locke, and we'll leave the
Okay, all right.
Whatever it is, we'll relate it to both parties.
Yes.
Okay.
I can email both parties to them.
Okay.
We'll probably, if we have any questions, you all, we'll probably deliver it to you, I'll put that from the council, how he wants to disseminate.
And we may need to move forward with this, thing that we were talking about, these dumpster sites on these subdivisions.
That's, I need to talk with Wayne because it's in the subdivision ordinance that they're required to provide those, and we also collect the money. So we need to, if we're not gonna do this, the dumpster sites, I think we need to drop the fee that's collected.
Agree with that? Yeah, we got to.
And just put it in there, just take it out instead of a green box area as a utility site.
Yeah, I think
A
that
future
would,
utility site and not, it's like $1,500
Yeah, drop the.
and drop the fee.
That was for, I forgot, that was for the fencing, etc.
Right.
So we drop that.
yeah, I think it'd be a great idea.
I still think you need those.
I do too.
Just because of, I don't know what the future's gonna hold with regards to utilities. Whether that's little nodes like you see that Verizon has all around the county, little small boxes, 50 by 50 that would set up. You don't see that much anymore, but they're still out there. What happens with regards to wireless, especially with these, there's a big move out to put up small little towers that could be attached to telephone poles, small unit on the ground. You could set those on those because usually there's going to be a pole right there, things of that nature. We've got a cell service, etc. So I think that's something we probably should look at to try to keep, just because it's not going to, if we're not putting green boxes, one of the major complaints we had was we're going to put those green boxes besides my house, and that's going to devalue our property. The utilities would devalue because there's junk there, etc.
I think if we define it right, I think it's easier down the road to, if you just put it as a dumpster site and then you want to do something totally different, then I think it could cause a problem down the road.
I probably could word it just to provide a utility service.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think everybody would go along with that just as well as they would with a dumpster site. I believe I'd rather have that than something else in a dumpster there anyhow,
Right.
probably.
I think any utilities you put in there are gonna
Benefit them.
them, yes, yes.
Right.
So that's ultimately what they want anyway. Because
Right.
there's gonna be more services for those folks.
That's right.
Okay?
And-
Yes, we'll have that.
All right. Anything else?
I think that's it.
Okay.
Robert, if both of those, outfits come back with a proposal, is there room for both of them?
No.
That's what I thought.
That's the problem.
That 2 mile is the big kicker on
2
this.
miles is gonna kill one
Yeah,
or the other.
that's right. That's the reason I thought we better make sure we know what we're doing.
So, just so I'm clear, the 2 miles that we voted in as part of the ordinance after the March submission of this first one, is that correct?
Yes.
So they, if the attorney tells us they still get in line first,
Well, see, no, we also still had the 2 miles in our comprehensive plan,
comp plan.
which we had been going by, so we were still covered there.
And because they applied, they got it approved, so that's another legal opinion as to whether that be counted because they had an application that they pulled.
So it's really gonna be up to the attorneys as to which one we hear first, right?
As to whether or not, I guess, the decision would be whether or not Seven Bridges had a completed application that was in the review. It was being reviewed or not, or whether by their plan, that took them out of the order.
And Dominion has an
Active.
active set legal plan.
Yes.
So, okay.
I think that's what he's gotta find, but again, I'm not the attorney, I'm gonna let the attorney decide exactly what
Right.
put his ramifications on and where he's putting this in. We're all speculating as to what we think it ought to be covered by, but I'll let them handle that.
Right.
Okay.
It don't make no difference to me